Once again, good evening to everyone online joining us, maybe listening to this one later. You're here at the Tulsa Center for Spiritual Living on Saturday, December 10th, and we thank you for listening to this talk. Our theme today is Living Everyday Wonder. Our theme for the month is Living a Everyday Wonder, and our topic this week is called Into We See. And as we begin this talk about community, I think for a moment about how we are part of the larger Centers for Spiritual Living community, part of the larger New Thought community that includes a lot of different traditions, like the Unity Church, like Divine Science, and as we were called, religious science. And I want to honor in this moment the loss of a real leader in our movement. Reverend Norm Bouchard made his transition this week after a time experiencing cancer. And Norm was one of my professors at ministerial school. Reverend Norm was a priest who found his way leaving the Catholic Church and then joining the Mile High Church. Like many of us, he started taking classes, became a practitioner. The minister, Dr. Roger Teal, said, "You know, Norm, you're going to be a minister here with us someday." And I won't repeat what he said, not for public consumption. And of course, he went on the path to become a real leader in our movement. He was actually on our leadership council with our home organization. And Reverend Norm, my takeaways from Reverend Norm is that part of what we bring in spiritual community and in a service like what we do is to let us have an experience. And that's one of the things I think we'll continue to develop and unfold here is how do we touch our hearts? How do we open up that vagus nerve in our body that begins to resonate? And I think we do a great job of it here. But I remember Norm walking in. And Norm would say, if you're going to have a candle, make it a big candle. You know what I mean? You can't walk on stage and have a tiny little candle that no one can see. And he just brought such heart to the movement. He wound up taking over the Colorado Springs Center for Spiritual Living and just blossomed and bloomed that organization. And we hold them in our hearts today, knowing that they and his spouse, Scott, are experiencing this loss. And we're so grateful for the life that Reverend Norm lived, and know that his teachings and ideas will continue to show up throughout our movement. And we're grateful to have known him. And another brief share is about a young woman in our movement. Her name is Olivia Walter. She goes by the name Firefly. She's a musician in our teaching. And I met her at one of our organizational conferences many years ago. As a teen, she was a teen leader, and she's a musician. She was in Europe this summer and she got hit by a vehicle and has traumatic brain injury. And her family is shepherding her through surgeries. They're meeting with her every day. They're rubbing her feet. They're singing to her. They're reading her stories, and friends are coming to visit. And there's a sense through her surgeries that she's beginning to come back. So for Firefly, what we hold in prayer and ask everyone to hold in prayer is that her family, they either need insurance to cooperate or people to step forward. Nearly $100,000 has been raised to support her family to get her home to California, or I think she lived in California, to where she can get the treatment she needs to recover from this injury. So she's still beneath the surface, but she's moving and making eye contact and moving, touching her hand. So there's just really beautiful thing. And I read her family's post every day, and I'll post it on our Facebook page if anyone would like to make a donation. We hold Firefly and know that her voice returns to the full presence of this life. She's amazing. So everyone take a breath now. And our affirmation today is, I see spirit in everyone we meet. And if you'd like to repeat that after me, feel comfortable in joining. I see spirit in everyone I meet. I see spirit in everyone I meet. You know, we see each other, and together we walk through life's challenges. You know, through the wide world, the World Wide Web now, I was able to share with you a loss and a challenge that's happening in our community, and know that from that, there are that many people praying for the life, the transition of Reverend Norman, for the life of Olivia Firefly. You know, who we acknowledge as being part of our community is a vital part of creating community. When we see people in our community as being outside or fail to see them at all, we limit our possibilities for the greater whole. Whatever the perceived difference, there is value in making genuine connections with all people. We all have differences in both our inner world and our outer world, how we see the world, how we react to the world, how we look, how we talk, how we show up. But underneath that is a deeper sense of oneness, which is a common theme this month. Now, some of you've heard of Mark Nepo. He's a spiritual author who has a doctorate in English. He taught for 18 years at the State University of New York in Albany. And in his 30s, he was diagnosed with a rare form of lymphoma. And it created a struggle that really changed his philosophy about work and how to stay in relationship with an uncertain future. In 2018, he was interviewed for the Mind, Body, Spirit magazine, and he shared some insights on community, and I'm going to draw some ideas from that today. Mark said it was Plato who said, "We are born whole, but we need each other to be complete." We are born whole, but we need each other to be complete. Now, this kind of brought to mind the "you complete me" phrase from Jerry Maguire, only different. We don't need anyone to complete us. But even though we're born whole and we can say that we're whole and complete and perfect, it takes being in relationship and community to really experience it. And this brings us, Mark says, to a great paradox in life, which is that no one can live your life for you, yet no one can make it alone. And so in every generation of life, we discover through great love and sometimes great suffering that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, that in essence, we are more together than we are alone. Mark shared some ideas on how we can have experience ongoing efforts of coming together. One is to remember that we're not separate from those we are trying to help. So we think for a moment about the practitioner who has someone sit in front of them who has a tragic experience, tragic, like a traumatic brain injury, right? We know lessons will come out of that. That we're not separate from those people that we're praying for. That at the same time, we don't ignore their outward experience of loss or whatever it may be, but we can see through it to know the truth. That these experiences touch our hearts when we hear about the loss of someone's life. Yet we can know the wholeness, that we're a part of that, and like them, we're even more. Another thing is to engage the world beyond our dualistic ideas of history. You know, my Reverend Michael says we hear of wars and rumors of wars. Well, we know that there are these outward differences in a dualistic society where we appear to be different, but we can know on a deeper phase that we really are whole. And we can commit to participating in life and not just watching. Lots of Netflix at night. We get to come here and participate. So from the Centers for Spiritual Living Declaration of Principles, the manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. The universe is the body of God, and it's the outcome of our life's knowingness. Now, Mark, along this same line, shared, there is molecular and biological evidence of our oneness and how our very presence influences each other. If you place two living heart cells, he said, taken from different people in a petri dish, they will over time find a third common heartbeat, common beat. We can draw vitality and strength from that glimpse into life, which affirms that we have an innate call to find each other and to join. We could say this is our genetic basis for our impulse towards community. Hardship can make us forget our impulse to join. Some people in a difficult time retreat, and they may need to. But we simply need to keep each other company. We simply need to keep each other company during life's surprising journey. No need to fix, to witness, to love, and support. Mark also said we can see this impulse like white blood cells rushing to the site of an injury. People in the modern world are gathering around different injuries to help each other heal. This is manifest in the modern work of recovery groups, healing circles, and spiritual communities, just like our Tulsa Center for Spiritual Living. It has been shown that community with a close-knit web of connections has a lower rate of heart disease. Mark shared his understanding of something called the Rosito effect, named for a town in Pennsylvania that had an unusually low rate of heart disease. At the time, Rosito was an Italian community with strong family ties and its long immigrant history. From 1954 to 1961, the man of Rosito had nearly no heart attacks. You know, they probably didn't eat all that well. A lot of sausage. All other factors were the same as in nearby communities, but Rosito's good health was attributed to an active, caring, close-knit community. So being in community keeps us healthy. Mark also learned that when we meditate together, when they meditate together, brain waves quickly begin to harmonize. And that when a newcomer joins the group, their brain waves also harmonize with the group. You can feel that when we do our meditation at the beginning of service. I do. And suggest that intimacy, doing things together, is a catalyst for the experience of oneness. Our bodies, our consciousness combined. So some of us participated in a visioning meditation last week after service. And I definitely felt that we breathed together, we meditated together, and we asked for Spirit's highest and greatest call and vision for our community. Some of what we heard were things like spiritual community, expanding consciousness, love, joy, and acceptance. We are a prosperous place of acceptance and learning. We heard the word become. We are an open and shining light, a beacon attracting people. We are a heart space. That word came up again tonight, heart space, in your prayer, Randy. We are a perfect white star that's pulsing, right? We are willing and open. We are the whole person and accept things the way they are. We already know the answers came through. Do, be, do, be. Dooby-dooby-doo, Chris is laughing. It's all about love and release and stay tuned. Welcome, Dad. Ernest Holmes in Spiritual Awareness, written in 1972, said, since each of us represents an individualization, each of us represents the individualization of the nature of God, there is freedom of circulation of the divine love, reason, peace, joy, and perfection through the human, through us. We must cooperate with this wholeness of life if we wish to be made whole. Therefore, we should maintain a calm and expectant attitude, endeavoring to realize that we are part of an infinite life. Man, I love this. The pieces of this say that there's a freedom of circulation of the divine, all these qualities we talked about, like peace and joy and perfection of the human, but we as individuals get to cooperate with that essence of the whole. We get to cooperate and connect with that. And we should keep a calm and expectant attitude. Expectant attitude. So as we did our visioning meditation last week, these ideas came through. And what we then realize is we get to release it and let it go, and to breathe and to continue to do what we need to do, guided in a way that informs us for the greater expression of our center, our Tulsa Center community as it expands. Love that. Like Ernest, Mark Nebo understands that all of this implies that there is a unified field of presence very near to us that ranges from atoms to cells to souls. The crucial question then is, how do we relate to this field of presence? How do we tap into its energy and resources? One ancient and timeless way that we experience our connectedness and oneness is through kindness. In addition to strengthening the integrity of our relationships, kindness allows us to embody that sense of oneness. It's no mistake that kindness has the same root as the word kinship. It was the Chinese philosopher Mencius who said that as water allowed its true nature will always flow and join other water, human beings allowed their true nature will always flow to each other and join. I love that, this sense that water, which given its nature, will flow until it joins with other bodies of water. And here we are as human beings going through our lives, paying our bills, doing our chores, we flow together to where we connect in ways like we are today online and here in person. Like so much of what we learn in the science of mind, it all begins with our understanding and our belief in oneness. We've heard that every week through last month and into this month. We believe that we're one whole as individualized expressions, that from our actions of inner and outer kindness, we create community. When we listen for Spirit's highest vision for our life and release it, knowing that it's done in our world, that we can move mountains. We can let beautiful expressions come in that change the way we do our work in the world. Then we move towards setting our intentions with that deep sense of trust and knowing that it is unfolding now. So consider for a moment some way you could experience your sense of community. For example, maybe step into a new role somewhere, join a group that you've considered joining, take a class, or invite someone new to visit this center. Last week, Brad and I visited a Unity church downtown in Tulsa to hear our friend Reverend Shauna speak. I had not been in that building for over 15 years, but remembered taking the twins there when they were less than knee highs. It felt good to connect with other people who are on a similar path, to see the world in a beautiful way, to feel their love and know that together, we are co-creating the beloved community right here in Tulsa. I'm so excited to see how this all unfolds for the greatest and highest good for each person in the room and online, for our teaching, and for ways that we can bring these spiritual principles in a way that works for expanding our own lives. And it's so good to do it in community. It's so good to do it with supportive love and great desserts and a sense of knowing that the indwelling Spirit, that oneness expressing through us, is helping to transform our lives and the world. And so it is.